What was supposed to be a beautiful holiday housewarming turned into pure chaos when my mom Sophia, 64, came face to face with a relative she secretly hated for over 20 years. Old grudges came boiling to the surface. Arguments exploded in front of the whole family, and what should have been a celebration turned into a holiday disaster no one will forget. The shocking ending left us questioning if the family could ever recover. So, for context, my mom Sophie, 64, finally bought her dream little house after years of renting. She'd been saving forever, and when the timing lined up with the holidays, she decided to throw a holiday housewarming party. She was buzzing with excitement, string lights everywhere, candles lit, the smell of cinnamon and baked apples coming from the kitchen. She kept saying, "This is my chance to start fresh. No more bad memories, no more drama." Famous last words. The guest list was simple: me, my brother Daniel, 38, my cousin Carla, 45, and a few other relatives. But then she invited Aunt Marissa. The problem? Mom and Marissa haven't been on good terms for over 20 years. Some people fight over money, others over relationships. In their case, it was both. Long story short, when my grandmother passed, there was a messy inheritance fight. Marissa ended up with the late Kevin my mom always loved. Mom felt robbed, and ever since then, she's carried that grudge like it's tattooed on her soul. When I asked her, "Are you sure it's a good idea to invite Marissa?" she just waved me off. "It's the holidays, we're adults now, that can be civil." Spoiler, she could not be civil. The night started fine. The house looked cozy, everyone was complimenting her. Mom was glowing, handing out glasses of mulled wine like she was the queen of Christmas. Even when Marissa showed up, wrapped in her fancy fur coat, Mom plastered on the stout smile and said, "Welcome, Marissa, make yourself at home." But the tension? Oh, it was thick. At first the conversation stayed polite. Marissa complimented the house. "It's quaint, very cozy, a big step down from the cabin, but still nice." I swear I saw my mom's jaw clench her heart. I thought her teeth would crack. Daniel caught my eye and mouthed, "Here we go." As the night went on, little digs kept slipping into the conversation. Mom bragged about a homemade apple pie. Marissa smirked and said, "Oh, reminds me of Grandma's, though hers was less dry." Carla snorted into her wine, and I just wanted to crawl under the table. Then, during dinner, Marissa casually brought up the cabin. "I actually just renovated the place. It looks incredible now. Such a blessing that it came to me when it did." That was it. My mom slammed her fork down so loud the room went dead silent. "A blessing? You mean stealing? You always were good at taking what didn't belong to you, Marissa." The table froze. Daniel muttered, "Oh," said she, asterisk under his breath. Marissa leaned back, smirking, sipping her wine like some villain in a soap opera. "Still bitter after 2 decades, Sophia. I guess some people never learn to move on." And just like that, the holiday housewarming flipped from festive to absolute disaster. The silence after Marissa's comment was so sharp you could almost hear the Christmas lights buzzing. Mom's face turned red, her hands gripping the edge of the table. For a second, I thought she was going to throw her glass right at Marissa's head. Instead, she stood up. "Move on. You ruined my holidays for 20 years. Marissa, every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, I remembered what you did. You didn't just take the cabin, you took my memories. That place was mine with Mom. You knew that." Marissa tilted her head, fake sympathy dripping from her voice. "Oh, Sophia, don't be so dramatic. It was legally mine. If you'd been smarter with your money back then, maybe you could have fought for it. Not my fault, you were always the irresponsible one." Daniel tried to jump in. Okay, let's just eat, yeah? No need to rehash ancient history." But Mom wasn't having it. "Ancient history? She flaunts that cabin in my face every chance she gets." Mom snapped, pointing at Marissa. "You've always been jealous of me, and when you saw your chance to hurt me, you took it." Carla, who had been quietly drinking like she was at a free comedy show, finally piped up. "Wow, she's not wrong, Marissa. You did kind of swoop in on Grandma's will." Marissa shot her a look that could curdle milk. "Stay out of this, Carla. Nobody asked for your commentary." That's when Mom lost it. She stormed to the kitchen, slamming cabinet doors while muttering curses in Spanish, a sure sign the night was beyond saving. I followed her, trying to calm her down. "Mom, please, you don't want to ruin tonight. You worked so hard for this." She spun around, tears brimming in her eyes. "Do you know what it feels like to finally have your own house at 64? And the one person who destroyed your dreams walks in just to spit on them?" I didn't even know what to say. She looked so broken, like all those years of resentment were boiling over at once. Back in the living room, Marissa had made herself very comfortable, sitting cross-legged on the new cream-coloured sofa without even taking off her shoes. She was laughing with Carla like nothing had happened. Daniel whispered to me, "We should probably just end this before Mom can bust." But ending it wasn't an option because just then, Mom marched back into the room holding a dusty photo album. She slammed it down on the coffee table, dust flying everywhere. "You want to talk about the cabin? Let's remind everyone what it meant." She flipped the pages, showing photos of her and Grandma by the lake, summer spent swimming, Christmas mornings by the fireplace. Her voice cracked. "This wasn't just a building, it was my childhood, my safe place, and you stole it." Marissa just sipped her wine and smirked. "If it meant so much, maybe you should have fought harder, but you didn't, Sophia. You never do." That was the spark that lit the powder keg. The room felt like it had turned into a pressure cooker. Mom was shaking, her hands gripping the photo album like it was a lifeline. Marissa leaned back on the sofa, legs crossed, eyes glinting with that smug, infuriating expression that only she could pull off. "You know," Mom started, her voice trembling but loud enough for everyone to hear, "you never cared about anyone but yourself. Grandma trusted you. Dad trusted you. And somehow you still act like the innocent one. But you," she pointed directly at Marissa, "you've been poisoning this family for decades." Carla, who had been awkwardly hovering near the drinks table, tried to interject. "Sophia, maybe we should all just calm down." "What?" Mom shouted, cutting her off. "No more calm, no more pretending everything is fine. I've held this in for 20 years, and tonight it ends. I will not let you ruin my holiday, my house, or my happiness any longer." Marissa finally sat up, leaning forward like a predator. "Oh, please, your so-called happiness. You think buying a little house makes up for all the bad blood? You're pathetic, Sophia. You always have been." And that was it. Mom launched herself at Marissa not physically, but verbally like a hurricane. She screamed memories, old debts, betrayals, little humiliations nobody but the two of them remembered. Everyone froze. Even Daniel looked like he'd just seen a natural disaster unfold in human form. You think I forgot how you stole Grandma's jewellery? How you spread lies about me to the whole town? How you laughed when I cried over my first heartbreak? Mom's voice cracked, tears streaming freely. Marissa smirked, sipping her wine again, unfazed. All in the past, Sophia. You're acting like a child. I swear, I could feel the room vibrating with tension. The fairy lights above flickered as if in warning. Daniel muttered under his breath, "Oh, Lord, this is going to get worse." Then came the breaking point. Mom grabbed the tray of her famous apple tarts and, without thinking, shoved it toward Marissa. Not hard enough to hit her, but enough to make a dramatic statement. The tray clattered on the coffee table, some tarts landing on the carpet. Marissa looked down at the mess, and then up at Mom, eyes wide. "You can't be serious, Soph." Mom's breathing was ragged. "I am serious. You will not waltz into my life and pretend like everything is fine when you've spent 2 decades making it miserable." Holla, Daniel, and I rushed in, trying to pull Mom back. She was trembling, shaking, but refusing to be restrained. The room was a mess, apple tarts on the floor, decorations slightly askew, and a tension so thick you could slice it with a knife. Finally, Daniel grabbed Mom by the shoulders and said firmly, "Sophia, breathe, just breathe, you can't do this tonight." It took everything in her to step back, eyes still blazing. Marissa, smug as ever, straightened her coat, glanced at the ruined tarts, and muttered, "Well, this is a holiday to remember." Everyone else was silent, too stunned to speak. My mom's housewarming was officially a disaster holiday cheer obliterated, long-held grudges finally unleashed in full force. After the eruption, the house felt hollow. Festive warmth was gone, replaced with a sharp sting of anger, embarrassment, and disbelief. Mom sat on the edge of the couch, still trembling, while Marissa casually perched on the armchair, looking like she'd just won a game of chess. I swear, the woman had zero remorse. Daniel hovered near the kitchen, picking up broken bits of tarts and muttering, "Why do we let this happen every single time?" I didn't have an answer. I just sank into a chair, rubbing my face. I felt like a referee in a fight I couldn't stop. Mom's voice broke the silence. "I don't care if she thinks she won. She doesn't get to laugh in my house. Not tonight, not ever." Her hands were shaking so much that she dropped her mug of cocoa. It shattered, chocolate spilling across the new hardwood floors. Carl sighed, holding her glass. "Sophia, maybe we should just let her go. Marissa's not worth it." Mom's head snapped toward her. "Not worth it, Carla. Do you know what it feels like to carry this anger for 20 years? To see her living the life I wanted? No, you don't. That's why I can't let it go." Daniel looked at me helplessly. "She's right, though. We can't just let this ruin her and the house." I stepped closer. "Mom, maybe the best revenge isn't yelling or shaming her in front of everyone. Maybe it's living your life without her shadow in it. This is your space now. Make it yours." Mom's face softened slightly, but her pride was still raw. "I know, but it's hard. Seeing her, it brought it all back." Meanwhile, Marissa finally spoke, in her cool, almost mocking tone. "Fine, Sophia, you want a war. You got it, but maybe next time, keep your emotions in check in front of the family." She stood up, slowly dusting her coat off. "Enjoy your new little house. It's cute, really." And just like that, she left, sashaying out the front door like nothing had happened. Silence filled the room. Only the faint smell of burnt cocoa and trampled apple tarts remained. Mom slumped back into her chair, exhaustion written all over her face. Paula finally spoke. "Well, that was a disaster." Daniel chuckled, though it was more nervous than amused. "That's one way to make a housewarming memorable." I handed Mom a towel to wipe her tears. "Mom, maybe next year smaller guest list." She let out a shaky laugh. "Next year, maybe I'll just stay home with you kids and the dog. Forget the holiday parties entirely." Even with the chaos, I could see a glimmer of relief on her face. She had faced Mercer, let the anger pour out, and survived. The house was messy, the tarts were ruined, and the holiday spirit was scattered, but somehow, Mom felt lighter. And maybe that's what mattered most, finally releasing 2 decades of bitterness, even if it came at the cost of a perfect holiday housewarming. The next morning, the house felt quiet in a way that was almost surreal. The chaos of the night before had left a trail of crumbs on the floor, a few broken ornaments, and a lingering scent of spilled cocoa, but the tension had eased slightly. Mom was in the kitchen, nursing a cup of tea, staring out the window at the snow-covered yard. I joined her, careful not to disturb the fragile calm. "Mom, how are you feeling?" She let out a long sigh. "Honestly, relieved, I think, angry, sure. But later, I've carried that grudge for so long, and for the first time in decades, I don't feel like I'm suffocating under it." Daniel wandered in, rubbing his eyes, still half asleep from the emotional rollercoaster. "You really went full firecracker last night, Mom. I mean, Marissa probably won't forget that." Mom smiled weakly. "Good, maybe now she'll realise that I'm not someone to be pushed around. But I don't want this anger to control me anymore. I want to enjoy my house, my holidays, my life." Carla, ever the practical one, joined us with a tray of slightly burnt but still edible breakfast muffins. "Well, at least some food survived the chaos, and Mom, I have to admit, seeing you stand up to her like that, it was inspiring, fierce, even." I laughed, a little relieved. "Yeah, I didn't think anyone could be fiercer than Marissa, but you proved me wrong." Mom chuckled softly, though there were tears in her eyes. "Fierce isn't exactly the word I'd use for myself, more like tired of being stepped on." For the first time in years, it felt like the family could breathe together. Tension from last night had forced something out into the open. Old wounds had been reopened, yes, but they had also been acknowledged. And in a strange way, that was healing. Daniel finally broke the silence. "So a new rule for housewarmings, invite people who don't carry 2 decades of grudges." Mom laughed, a genuine, unrestrained laugh that filled the kitchen with warmth. "Absolutely, next holiday, we're doing a small gathering, just close family, good food, no surprises." We all settled into a kind of quiet normalcy. Mom moved through the house, checking decorations, sipping tea, even laughing at little things that had gone wrong last night, the broken tarts, the spills cooker. The chaos of yesterday had lost its sting. As I watched her, I realized something important. The disaster of the housewarming didn't ruin anything. It exposed long-held resentment, yes, but it also allowed Mom to finally release it. There was strength in the release and in the vulnerability she'd shown in front of the people who loved her. By midday, we were all helping clean up the house, sharing small jokes, and making plans for a calmer, happier holiday. Mom even suggested a walk in the snow, which Daniel and I both happily accepted. Carla, of course, refused, claiming she'd already frozen once just by being near the mess. But the important thing, Mom smiled. Truly smiled. For the first time in years, she wasn't haunted by the past, and her house finally felt like a safe, joyful space. Even if the tots were still a little squished. Just when we thought the storm had passed, the doorbell rang. My stomach dropped. My eyes went to Mom, and I could see her stiffen. It can't be you, she muttered under her breath. Sure enough, standing at the front door was Marissa, bundled in her expensive coat, holding a small gift bag. Her smile was annoyingly serene. Sophia, I thought I'd stop by, to make amends, a little holiday gesture. Mom's jaw tightened. I could feel her old anger flickering to life. Marissa, now it was not the time. Marissa stepped inside anyway, ignoring Mom's tone. I brought you something, some flowers as well. I thought maybe we could talk, start fresh. Daniel groaned audibly. Oh no, she's doing the fake charming thing now. Mom took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. Talk. After last night, you humiliated me in my own home, Marissa. I don't want talk. I want boundaries. Marissa tilted her head, feigning innocence. Boundaries, Sophia. Come on. I was just being honest about the past, but if we're going to start fresh, maybe honesty is exactly what we need. That's when Mom did something I didn't expect. Instead of erupting, she grabbed the gift bag Marissa had set down. Slowly, deliberately, she opened it. Inside were small, tasteful decorations for the house. Mom's eyes softened slightly. You didn't have to do this, she said quietly. Marissa shrugged, still smirking. It's a start. Look, Sophia, I know we've had issues, but maybe we can move past them. You've got your house now, your space, and maybe we can just not be enemies for once. Mom studied her for a long moment. Her shoulders relaxed slightly. I don't know if we can ever be close, Marissa, but maybe we can try civility. No more old grudges, just basic respect. Marissa nodded, surprisingly sincere this time. Agreed, civility it is. The tension in the room shifted. Daniel let out a relieved sigh. Finally, a miracle. Carla, still skeptical, raised an eyebrow. Don't get used to it, she's Marissa. Mom laughed softly, the sound warm and real. Yeah, I know, but for now, it's enough. I survived the holiday disaster, the long-held grudges, and even Marissa's theatrics. My house is mine. My holidays are mine. For the first time in years, Mom looked free. She could finally enjoy her home, her family, and the holidays without being haunted by resentment. Marissa stayed just long enough to place the decorations and share a few polite words. Then she left, and we all exhaled together, the house feeling lighter than it had in decades. That day, I realized something important. Sometimes, even the worst disasters can fall ceiling. Mom had faced her past, confronted the person who hurt her, and come out stronger. And maybe, just maybe, she could finally enjoy her holiday in peace. By the next morning, the house felt almost magical in its quietness. The chaos of the holiday housewarming was a fading memory, replaced with a strange sense of calm. Snow had settled over the yard overnight, and sunlight filtered softly through the windows, casting a warm glow across Mom's living room. Mom was in the kitchen, humming softly while making coffee. She'd already cleaned up most of the mess from the night before, putting away the shattered ornaments and salvaging what she could of the tarts. For the first time in years, I saw her relaxed. Her shoulders weren't tense, her smile felt real, as she wasn't holding on to anger like a shield. Daniel wandered in, stretching. So we survived, miraculously. I'm still surprised no one ended up in jail. Carla chuckled, holding a plate of slightly misshapen pancakes. I'll believe that when the house isn't smelling like burnt cocoa. Mom laughed, genuinely, as she poured herself a cup of coffee. I can't believe how dramatic that got, but it had to happen. I needed to face Marissa, finally, then I did. I poured myself some coffee and sat down next to her. You were incredible, Mom. I don't think I've ever seen you stand up for yourself like that. Even when you were shaking, you didn't back down. Her eyes softened, and she placed a hand over mine. It wasn't just for me, it was for all of us. I can't live in the shadow of old grudges anymore. Life is too short. Then this house is my sanctuary. I won't let anyone ruin that. Daniel nodded. I think we all learned something yesterday. Family can be messy, yes, but it can also be forgiving, if we let it. Carla added, still teasing but with warmth. Just maybe next time. Fewer explosive relatives at holiday events, yeah. Mom laughed again, the sound full of relief and joy. Absolutely, next year. Just us, the kids, and maybe some hot cocoa. No Marissas, no drama, just peace. We spent the rest of the morning tidying up, sharing small stories, laughing at the chaos that had unfolded. Even though the housewarming had been a disaster, it had forced something important: honesty, confrontation, and ultimately a sense of closure. Mom's long-held grudge had finally been aired out, and she was free from its weight. By the afternoon, the living room was back in order, and Mom suggested a walk outside. We bundled up and stepped into the fresh snow, breathing in the crisp winter air. The world seemed quiet, calm, and forgiving, a stark contrast to the storm of the night before. As we walked, Mom squeezed my hand gently. Thank you for standing by me, for supporting me. I couldn't have done it without you. I smiled. Mom, it's always been you. You just needed to see it through. And in that moment, surrounded by family, fresh snow, and the warmth of her new home, I realized something important. Disasters can happen, grudges can linger, but love, honesty, and a little courage can heal even the deepest wounds. Mom had survived her holiday disaster, and now she could finally enjoy the peace she'd always deserved. What was supposed to be a joyful holiday housewarming for my mom, Sophia, 64, turned into an unforgettable disaster. After years of saving, she finally bought her dream home, but inviting Aunt Marissa, a relative she secretly hated for over 20 years, set off a chain reaction of long-held grudges, heated arguments, and shattered holiday cheer. From tense polite conversations to a full-blown confrontation over old family betrayals, the night spiraled out of control. Apple tarts were ruined, cocoa spilled, and emotions boiled over in front of the entire family. Through the chaos, Mom confronted decades of resentment she had carried silently. What started as a festive celebration became an emotional battlefield, forcing every family member to face uncomfortable truths. In the aftermath, she found strength, courage, and a path toward releasing her anger. Even Marissa's unexpected return with a peace offering gave Mom a chance to assert boundaries, demand respect, and finally step into her own space without being haunted by the past. This story isn't just about a holiday gone wrong, it's about confronting old wounds, the power of family, and the difficult yet liberating journey toward emotional closure. Witness the drama, the heartbreak, the small victories, and the moments of genuine bonding that follow the chaos. Watch as Sophie transforms a disastrous holiday into an opportunity for healing, proving that even the messiest family conflicts can lead to growth, understanding, and a little hope for happier celebrations.